Yo, what up, street gods? It's Eric Kim. So, the thought. How to become and why to become your own hype man. So, what is hype? Hype means essentially, I mean, there's a street term and then there's the, just kind of the real term. So the real term of hype is, it means above. I think in Proto-Indo-European, the word hyper comes from the word hooper, H-U-P-E-R, and it means essentially above. So essentially a hype man is somebody who, you know, standing behind you at like a rap concert, jumping up and down, and the general gist is I mean, this is where negative people see it, is that like a hype man is somebody who tries to make you seem more than you actually are. But the question is, how great are you actually? And you know, whether you need a hype man and not, or you want to become your own hype man. So my thought is, the desire to have someone else become your hype man, your own hype man, it seems like kind of a vain pursuit. Like when I say vain, I mean empty. It seems like a little bit, because first of all, like, you know yourself best. No matter, you know, how much clout you get or how much you pay somebody else. Actually, in fact, no one's going to be able to promote you or hype you up as much as you could hype yourself up. So first and foremost, I think it only makes sense for you to be your own hype man. So that's the first step. And I think this is really important to think about because, like, and this is so funny, is that like no matter how famous you are and stuff like that, it seems like actually most people have very low self-esteem. And if anything, probably my superpower is that I have unusually high self-esteem. Probably my self-esteem is actually probably higher than it quote should be. But you know, truth be told, I'd rather be in a position where I have, you know, irrationally high self-esteem rather than having more realistic low self-esteem. Because I think in life, you know, what's the point of realism and stuff like that? Doesn't really matter. I mean, to me, all of existence, essentially, it's kind of like what you make out of it. So if you actually are in a position where you do have an option of determining or dictating how you're going to steer your own self-esteem, I would say, fuck it, let's just overhype ourselves rather than underhype ourselves, because there's really no pragmatic benefit to underhyping ourselves. It only seems useful when we overhype ourselves. And so my general gist and my thought is, in order to become your own hype man, just, you know, talk about your accomplishments and talk about how great you think you are, and don't do it in a sense of embarrassment or shame, and don't do it in this weird or ironic way either. People, or like, and I would even say, like, I'm kind of anti-humble bragging. I'm about like, either don't brag or just brag. So don't be a humble bragger, either be a real bragger or just don't say nothing at all. Or just like, actually the hilarious thing is that if you really do want to be humble, just, you don't need to talk about yourself. And actually for myself too, like, I have insanely high self-confidence in myself, but I don't really care to let other people know how much I perceive how epic I am, because, you know, maybe philosophically it's a matter of equals. Like, if you consider someone else your equal, then maybe you could talk about yourself more in depth. But then if people are just kind of random folks and stuff like that who could care less about who you are, then I would say getting into, you know, the nitty-gritty detail of how great you are, it kind of seems like a waste of time. But anyways, so yeah, so even when people often ask me, it's like, oh, you know, who are you, or what do you do and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, you know, my name's Eric Kim, you can just Google me, I'm #1 on Google. Or I'm like, oh yeah, I'm probably the most influential photography blogger in the space or whatever like that. And you know, I just kind of keep it at that. And actually the hilarity is the more you talk about yourself in depth and then list all your accolades, I actually think that you're the less successful you are, because even Nassim Taleb says something interesting, is that if someone's actually really, really rich, you don't have to list every single spoon you know, to constitute your net worth. Really, really high net worth is actually a net worth in which you don't really have to brag about every single little thing that you own. In fact, if you're really, really rich, you probably don't even know what your net worth is, because you got too much money or possessions to count, right? So generally my suggestion is, typically the people who are insanely successful are actually very low-key about their success, and people who are kind of meddling successful people, they tend to overstate their success and stuff like that. So but anyways, you know the saying, fake it till you make it. I actually think that phrase is pretty good. I mean, like even when I was starting off in my photography career when I was like 20, 21, obviously I had no following and stuff like that, but I just kind of knew that regardless of whatever I had to say, I just had to say it with confidence, right? And you know, and certainly I'm always learning everything that as I'm going along. But actually I think this is one of the benefits of being young, is that, you know, folks who are older than you will look at you as, you know, the expert, because, you know, let's say you want to be a social media expert or whatever, and you're younger people tend to understand technology and social media better than older folks. So what that means is, why self-censor yourself and talk about what you don't know? Talk about what you do know. And so yeah, in life, talk about what you know. And you don't even really need to talk about your shortcomings or your gaps in knowledge, because obviously everyone has gaps in knowledge. But perhaps when you're trying to sell yourself, what you're trying to sell is your personality, your chutzpah, like your guts, your courage, and let everything else to the fates.